Greetings. Welcome to NASCAR America Debrief. Nate Ryan, Marty Snyder. That's it.
No Kyle.
Taking your phone calls left over from NASCAR America Motor Mounts.
Nate, you make it sound like we're chopped liver.
Yeah.
You are not.
Yeah, thanks.
I might be.
Yeah, no, you're definitely not. We'll do our best to answer your questions. Also checking the chat box on the Motorsports on NBC YouTube channel. That's where you're watching us here on NASCAR America Debrief. So leave comments and questions there. I'm monitoring that. But let's start with Mike on the phone from North Carolina. Mike, welcome to NASCAR America Debrief.
Hey guys, how you doing today?
Great. How you doing?
Good. I was curious. When Chris Buescher went over to JTG Racing initially, wasn't he on kind of like a loan from Roush Fenway in the first place?
Correct.
Yes, he was on being farmed out.
Yeah, and the thing is, so why would anybody be kind of surprised that Roush would make this kind of move? Because the only reason he wasn't with Roush Fenway the last couple of years was because Jack couldn't find. I don't think he could find the dollars to put sponsors on a car for him, right?
Yeah, but since then his contract had fully moved to JTG Daugherty Racing, and that all had been settled. He had moved on. So I think that's the surprise. I don't think it's a surprise he went back, Nate, because that was sort of a former home, but all of the, quote, loaning out had been processed and done and over with.
Yeah, it's a good question, Mike, because it is a little bit confusing. When he first left, he was farmed out to Front Row for a year in 2016, and that was his first year outside of Roush. Then he got moved to JTG, and I think technically he was still in the Roush farm system or whatever it be then. But then when he signed an extension for 17 and 18, and that was a new contract with JTG. I think what's interesting is, I mean, did Roush still have some sort of, I don't know, maybe a right of first refusal or something floating out there?
I think that I'm positive all that had gone away.
Okay.
So, he was fully owned at that point, from an employment standpoint at JTG Daugherty Racing.
I mean, to your point, Mike, like not a surprise because he certainly had a working relationship with Roush.
Yeah, because of the working relationships, it made it easy to just go back and say, hey.
He won a championship there. I mean, it wasn't like he left on bad terms. So good question, Mike. We appreciate it. Let's go to Ann in Texas. Ann, welcome to NASCAR America Debrief.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
My question is, how will the new backstretch chicane affect the drivers? Will we see more chaos?
Great question, and I think the answer is yes, from what I've seen. I mean, everyone is saying that it's going to not be this kind of chaos, but it's going to be another passing opportunity. So, Nate, to me, every time I cover an IndyCar race, every time there's an opportunity to slow down, there's an opportunity to pass. And it's going to be way slower than what you're seeing right there. Just the entry is completely different than what this was last year.
And the problem with that chicane, Marty, was that they essentially could cut it on every lap. I mean, they barely had to lift off the accelerator or touch the brakes. I mean, they were just ripping right through it. And they
this
tried
one
to
you cannot cut.
You cannot do that with this one. That's why they put that wall there, which, as we saw with Bubba Wallace and Eric Jones, that didn't work out so well. This is a much better option where it's a sharper corner. Gradual exit. It'll create that passing zone you're talking about.
I would encourage you guys to watch practice on Friday, which we'll have on NBCSN. I mean, it is going to be, and the entry is like this. I mean, it's a legitimate turn, and I think drivers who have driven it are like, wow, this is going to make a big difference in the race and create another passing opportunity. And like Dale Jr. told us, even if a guy outbrakes you into the corner, it's worth racing him into that corner because you could possibly beat him on exit and have the low line coming off into NASCAR 3 and 4. It could be very interesting.
So all that being said, it could be more chaos, which again,
is great for
all of us.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's stay on the phones and talk to Mike in Tennessee. Mike, welcome to NASCAR America Debrief.
Thank you, guys. One question. Who do you think will step into the 20 XFINITY ride next year?
Yeah, I think Joe Gibbs Racing has all of that settled, and they'll have 3 full-time teams next year, and I think that news will be coming out fairly soon, is what I would say.
Okay. So more than one driver?
I mean, listen, Toyota has that will be one car. One driver. Toyota has a massive driver, a massive stable of young drivers, and I think you can do the math pretty well and figure out who's going to be around and who will be full-time, but JGR will have, to my knowledge, 3 full-time Xfinity cars next year.
All right. Good to know. I hadn't heard that thrown out there, so that was a good question there from Mike. Let's take a YouTube question from Jacob Hunt. He wants to know, with all of these driver movement changes going on, do we think the power shift in the Cup Series could be changing with potentially Roush coming back up?
To me, Roush Fenway has to get their cars better, and that's where that's what's behind this hire. They feel like that they can get further faster with Chris Buescher as a driver than they could with Ricky Stenhouse, and they can get better feedback. And they've seen what Buescher has done at JTG to help make that program better. So I think that's much more behind the move. I don't think he's going to come in and all of a sudden they're going to be a top 10 team.
Right.
I think they feel like that he can help them with feedback on how to make the cars better.
Yep. Justin Lehman on YouTube putting us on the spot. Who has a better chance to win with their new team next year? Chris Buescher, Matt DiBenedetto, or Christopher Bell? I'm going to say Matt DiBenedetto.
Okay.
Thoughts
I'm going
from
to
you?
say Christopher Bell in a landslide.
As a rookie. Winning in the 95.
Yep. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Okay, there you have it, Justin. Let's go back to the phones and talk to Bill.
I mean, as much as they want to say that's not going to be a JGR car, it's going to be a JGR car.
Still going to be a rookie driver, though.
I understand that.
Yeah.
With a very, very, very veteran crew chief.
Yeah, with a lot of JGR personnel.
Correct.
Supporting him. Bill is on the line. Bill, welcome to NASCAR America Debrief.
Hi, guys. Great show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Listen, I'm going to address the elephant in the room here. How about if JTG Daugherty just sits out and waits for the fallout at Stewart Haas?
Well, you're assuming there's going to be a fallout at Stewart Haas. It could be the same drivers in the lineup right now. It could maybe not be the same lineup right now, you know. And in all likelihood, Nate, if it's someone who's out of the mix and the music stops at Stewart Haas and there's no seat, it would likely be Daniel Suarez. Does he move your program forward at JTG? I'm not sure.
He's shown flashes, and I go back to what Jeff Burton said to us in the first segment of Motor Mouse about finding that hungry driver who feels aggrieved or wronged.
Yeah.
I mean,
I thought the Brett Moffitt comment from Burton was very interesting.
That's an interesting one, too.
Brett's done a fantastic job in the Truck Series. He has the talent, made it to Cup, then didn't have really the sponsors to make it any further. So I think he's an intriguing one. I loved the Biffle one. I think that one's terrific. I mean, if you want a guy who's not going to wreck your cars and say, hey, here's what you need to move your program forward, he's the guy.
He's been out of the game for a little while, but yeah, he'd be interesting. And Chastain also is somebody who's holding his cards close to the vest.
I agree, but I think Chastain's working on a full-time Xfinity ride right now. And I think what Kyle was saying is that you worry Ross is a very aggressive driver, and you worry he's going to might damage some equipment. And I know Tad is not a big fan of that. So he would rather have a driver who's not going to wreck his race car more than he would rather have a driver who's going to run 10th versus 12th every week.
Well, I appreciate that phone call, Bill. I like Suarez, by the way, and again, I think he still has a lot to prove from how the JGR ride ended. Stewart Haas, I don't think there's as much motivation there to prove everybody wrong. I think he had a decent season this year, but if he's out, I think he'd be a good option for the 37.
I think Stewart Haas stays the same.
You think so?
For 2020.
All right.
I think so.
I think he stays.
Yeah.
All right, let's stay on the phones and go to Raymond in Myrtle Beach. Raymond, welcome to NASCAR America Debrief.
Hey, guys, thanks. Really enjoyed the show.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Hey, a couple of things I was going to throw out. First of all, I think Jack Roush is a very patient person. And second is the young talent that JTG should look at that's very familiar with checker flags and victory circle be Keelan Harvick.
That's a little aggressive, I would say. But he brings up a great point with the patience, and I think for years, so let's look at Roush Fenway as a whole, Nate. For years, they were the same forever. You had Mark Martin, Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, Jeff Burton. You had that whole group that was there. They've shown a willingness in the last few years that they've never shown before. They were willing to move Trevor Bayne, someone they invested in. They were willing to move out now Ricky Stenhouse, someone they invested in, to say, hey, we've got to get our program better. We realize it. We'll do whatever it takes to get there. Let's bring in some different people. And that's something that traditionally Roush Fenway had not been willing to do in the past. Is that a fair thing to
absolutely.
say?
Well, a shift in philosophy, too, from they always had an Xfinity program.
Right.
That Jack Roush, for a lot of years, funded out of his own pocket, no sponsorship.
Right.
And Trevor Bayne and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. ran.
Ford paid for it a lot.
Ford paid for a lot of it. Yeah,
right.
But Bayne and Stenhouse ran in Xfinity cars before moving up to Cup with Roush, and at one point there was a real pipeline there, and that has sort of ceased. And I think that they are naturally going to look out.
So I think with a lot of companies, right or wrong, you have to give them credit because at least they're trying.
Yeah.
At least they're not just going to sit in the same situation. They're going to try and do something different. And that's what this signifies to me. Really, the last 2 or 3 years, willingness to bring Matt back. I mean, all of that shows, hey, we are going to get this program better. And I don't know that they had shown that in maybe the 10, 15 years previous.
Yeah, well, what I like about this is it is a little bit of a back to the future. We're going to go outside, but we're going to get a driver we developed in Chris Buescher and had him in the Xfinity Series and help get him in the Cup. So interesting move. Let's go back to the phones and talk to Brian in Anaheim, California. Brian, welcome to NASCAR America Debrief.
Hey, guys. So I want to talk about tracks that have 2 dates on the schedules. For the longest time as a fan, when we went back to a track, it felt like we were watching the same race on a different date. We got Vegas and Martinsville now doing night races for their second race, which is different racing. I respect it. Then Charlotte threw a huge curveball with the Roval. My question is, do you think that other tracks on the schedule twice might make same changes as well? Or what ideas would you implement, whether it's a Roval or changing the start-finish line placement or even going the opposite direction, anything?
I have lots of thoughts on that, Nate.
Well, I think, first of all, Brian, I'll start here and throw it to you, Marty. I mean, Pocono has been talking about this.
Yeah.
Pocono will move to a doubleheader next year, and there was talk about maybe using the road course. I don't know if you could do both on the same weekend, but if they would have kept 2 dates, I think one of them probably eventually would have been road course. So there's definitely been some conversation out there about it.
I have been a firm believer of you should never go to a track more than once a year. And I just feel like I think there's enough racetracks in America that NASCAR can put on a fantastic schedule every year. Cup Series, Xfinity Series, Truck Series, you could really change up the racetracks. I think that should happen. And I'll get back on my soapbox. I'm always on this soapbox. All 10 playoff races should be different every year. The championship race should be different every year. And I think you rotate it between 5 racetracks. You know this, Nate. I had the 5 good weather racetracks. You got California, Texas, Phoenix, Miami, and Fontana. Or there's one more in there. What am I missing? Phoenix.
Where they're
say that?
doing the championship next year.
Anyway, there's 5 good weather racetracks. Rotate it between those 5. I think all 10 racetracks should be different every year. You can't make them all different, but I mean, for the majority, I think they should switch around.
The 5 racetrack rotation for the championship, Kevin Harvick has supported that. There have been some others out there. I hadn't heard you say 10 different racetracks every year in the playoffs.
I firmly, if not, you're going to keep producing the same product every year, right?
Okay.
I mean, you know, you finish the race in Miami every year. There are certain drivers who are good at Miami. Yeah. There are certain drivers who are not. Yeah. Give them a chance to be able to go win a race.
I like it. I like it, although
Vegas was the other one.
Oh,
the fifth weather race.
I like it, although Homestead Miami Speedway is, always produces great racing.
It's fantastic.
So that would be my
every 5 years, it'll be fantastic.
You got to have a standard there.
Right.
Before we go back to the phones, this is a good one. Christian29 on YouTube. Kenseth comeback? ?
Could be.
You think? He's running a marathon this weekend.
If I am Tad, he's running a marathon in Berlin this weekend. If I am Tad, I'm taking a step back and opening up my mind and saying, okay, and Tad's program is different. Tad's program, you got to work well with the sponsors, and there's a lot of sponsors on that team. But I think you look at a Matt Kenseth, you look at a Greg Biffle, you look at a David Reagan, you look at all these guys and go, there's a lot of talent out there that can help my race team and advance them forward. Now, does Matt Kenseth want to work 38 weeks a year?
No.
Maybe not. Does Greg Biffle want to work 38 years?
Yeah.
Maybe not, I don't know. So, I mean, that's the thing is I would just completely take a step back and use this as an opportunity to say, okay, where do I want to go?
Yeah. I mean, I say I don't think Matt would want to do it, but if he has a car that's running well and winning a few races here and there, he might do it for a year. You might be right. Of course, that's a tall order. They'd have to prove that to him.
Could be.
We're going to wrap up on the phones and talk to Frank in Texas. Frank, welcome to NASCAR America Debrief.
Hey, I like your show. I also watch the NASCAR Race Hub, and they were saying that the championship this year is going to have to be won at Homestead. My question is, what would happen if a non-winning driver were to win, like Newman or Larson, and what would that do to the championship?
Right.
Highest finisher of the 4 championship drivers. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
If that highest finisher is 32nd, then bless them. They won a championship.
So he is asking about a scenario that it has not transpired to date.
Hasn't happened yet.
I mean, they've run the championship race 5 times, and every time, remarkably, the winner has also been the champion.
It's going to happen eventually.
Could happen this year.
Could happen this year.
Homestead Miami Speedway.
And you go to Miami every year and you think, well, this is the year Larson wins and he's not in the championship 4. He's had the best car by 2 of the last 3 Miami races and hasn't won them. Yeah. So it could eventually happen, especially with a race at Miami where Kyle Larson is the best guy at Miami, along with Denny Hamlin. They're both, terrific. So.
Yeah, a lot of possibilities for it to happen every year. We'll see about it this year. Thanks again for everybody. Comments, questions, phone calls. Appreciate all of them. Thanks for watching.
We did pretty good without Kyle.
Yeah, we did all right without a driver. Maybe we'll do it again sometime.
Maybe it's better.
Thanks for watching NASCAR America Debrief. We'll see you next time.